Welcome back to Kicking It with Kenya. So, we talk about anything that's hot right now. Well, hot right now. And one of the things being talked about or memed about or made fun of about is the movie Fatal Affair with Nia Long and Omar Epps. So, there's a lot of people who are thinking that this movie is basically another ripoff of Fatal Attraction. And then there's some people who just feels like I want to say it's not bad, but they're like, meh. So it's kind of leading into this conversation and this dialogue I'm having in my head about black movies and just black actors and actresses in general and about the roles they get. Like, you put up something that was really funny, and I don't know why I didn't text you when you put it up. I think I just laughed. And it was basically all the pictures of The Perfect Guy, Obsessed, that other movie with Idris Elba and Taraji, and When the Bow Breaks. Basically all the movies. And I think what was your status that you put?
It was just something along the lines of like every 2 to 5 years, Hollywood dusts off the Fatal Attraction script, and they just be like, yo, let's do this again, but black. You know what I'm saying?
Like we didn't do that again.
And it's just like I like Nia Long. I've always been a fan of Nia Long.
She's a draw. I love her.
But I just feel like with this movie, it's just like, why? Like, this is like the 8th time we've seen the Fatal Attraction script be redone with black actors again. Like, and it comes to the point where it becomes so formulaic, where it's just like you get an attractive actress that you know the dudes is gonna go to the theater to see. Megan Good, J Lo, Sanaa Lathan, Nia Long. You get a hot actress, so the dudes will come to see it. You get a heartthrob dude, so the girls will come to see it.
Chestnut, Michael Ealy, Idris Elba.
And then you get another dude that if depending on the budget, you may have to go B-list and get someone cheap that you can afford that we haven't seen in a while. Where it's like, oh, I remember him, and then we watch it. Usually because it's sometimes like now if it's Netflix, so it's like you watch it, and you can do these type of movies so cheap because it's like it's a house, maybe the workplace, and a restaurant. It's the same thing.
A house, the workplace, and a restaurant.
Like, they're all the same premise. They're all you know what's gonna happen. Oh, you're gonna meet this guy at the office. Your husband's neglecting you. You start falling for him. You have a hot, steamy...
that Obsessed was about the man,
but it was the same thing.
Yeah, met her at the office.
It was the same. It's just you just flip the genders.
Oh, and this one's white.
That's what I mean. And you make it PG-13 and get the teenagers in there, so you have a hot, steamy PG-13 sex scene where you don't see nothing, but it's enough to like, damn, she looked good. And then that scene happens. The girl feels regret, and then the husband and the dude clash at the end. Like, it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? If it's the female, it's usually the female is obsessed with the dude, and then at the end the females have their clash at the end. But it's the same thing.
The only thing that was different, out of all of those movies, the only movie that was actually different that had like was the one with Taraji P. Henson and Idris Elba. Because I liked it's not a spoiler, it's been years. But because I like the fact that we didn't understand why this guy was just like doing this shit to Taraji until the very end when they found out her husband was sleeping with his ex-fiance when he was in jail. Mm-hmm. And it all came together in the last 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, for once, I was like, oh, all right, I could see this was different, like a little bit. It wasn't all Fatal Attraction-y. Like, she didn't have there was no lust with Idris Elba and Taraji. It was just like he just was basically an intruder, and then we got intruders.
But see, again, I feel like so many times, and I'm not saying all these movies are terrible. That's not what I'm saying. No. But what I'm saying is when you see the same premise over and over and over, it becomes redundant.
It also makes me wonder, why don't the actors and actresses ever read the script and be like, this is the same shit? Like, do y'all not have no creative control? Like, can we just make it? I would have loved in A Perfect Guy if Sanaa Lathan actually ended up, through her quest of trying to get Michael Ealy back, she got crazy and she loved him too. Like, I would have liked that.
Well, it would just be something different to break up the whole like just formulaic way that you go about these movies. And again, they just get pumped out because they're so dirt cheap to make, and it's easy to do. Like like I said, they're small location movie. It's like the jump scare demon horror movie that's in a house. It's the easiest way to go about making a big budget success with a small budget to produce it. You know what I'm saying? But I really just feel like you get to the point. Like I saw the poster and I'm like, again. I didn't even look at the trailer.
With the little crackle.
It's like again, we're doing this again. Like for what? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like when I watch it, it's like I like Nia Long. I like Megan Good. I like all of these people. I'm like, y'all can't get we can't get better role. And I feel like as black people, we a lot of times support a lot of mediocre black movies just because they're black movies. And we want to see them do good. But I feel like there's so much more that can be done. And I'm not blaming it all on the powers that be. I feel like we have the resources to do bigger things, better things, but it's like nobody wants to go outside the box. I mean, I like people like Jordan Peele, and I respect that.
I respect Jordan.
But when I see the formulaic approach, it kind of just makes my skin crawl a little bit, because it's just like, you're better than this.
Right.
Like, we can do better than this. Why are we still doing this?
I guess it's because that's the only thing that, when you think about it, what's the last thing we seen Nia Long in? What, Best Man Holidays? Was that the last thing we seen Nia Long in?
For me, offhand, I don't remember.
But yeah, I feel like it had to have been Best Man, like a major, like it was in the movies. I want to say Best Man Holidays was the last thing. And when was the last time we seen Omar Epps? Was like, what, The House?
Traffic.
Yeah, that. Wait, I didn't even see that.
That was the last time I remember seeing it.
It was in theaters?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Wow.
Not that long.
Did not know about that movie. There we see, answering my question. But it's just like, I feel like...
The Banker, Nia Long.
You said what?
The Banker, Nia Long.
Oh, wait, no.
That's with Samuel L. Jackson. And that's
another
movie.
Promotion.
And that was barely promoted. I remember seeing the trailer for that movie, and it just disappeared. I'm like, what happened to it? And then I remember seeing, it's out. I was like, when did it drop?
Yeah, I didn't. And then, like, when we do get, that's another problem, though. Like, when we do get those type of movies that are different and they break, they break the normal mode or normal mold or whatever. Like, they're not even promoted as heavy as it should. Because I wanted to see that movie, but like with you, I seen it one time. I seen the trailer, and then next thing you know, like, they was like, oh, don't forget to support this film. I was like, but when does it come out? Like, I just didn't know. And also, like, I don't know. I just feel like I just want more. I want more. And I remember a time when we had a lot more. Like, even when me and you go back and forth about TV shows back in the day. Like, I love the fact that I was a little kid that was like, people be like, oh, like when people make it big, like, we got Black Panther. We got that. I'm like, yo, y'all really don't understand how the 90s, early 2000s, we really ran TV at one point. Like, we had a lot of good shows. We had 101, we had Eve, we had Half and Half, we had Girlfriends, we had Martin, we had the Steve Harvey Show, we had the Wayne Brothers, we had the Jamie Foxx Show, we had Fresh Prince, we had, what else we had? Shoot, like I could just keep Living Single. We had, we just had so many shows upon shows. We had a whole night dedicated to UPN on at 8, and Girlfriends. We had all of these shows that showed us in good light, like lawyers, doctors, real estate agents, magazine owners, and stuff like that. And it's like, we don't have those things anymore. It's like it got swept up and taken away. And then talking about movies, like we had The Best Man, we had The Wood, we had all of these like good black films, and it's like that was, and Boomerang. And I loved when I watched an interview on with Eddie Murphy, and they asked him a question. I don't know if it was the Arsenio Hall show, but they asked him a question about Boomerang. And they said something like about the characters, and he was like, "Oh, was it your point to make African Americans like work or whatever?" Like, because he was Marcus Graham, he was the head of marketing, and he just said, "No, black people work too." And he's like, basically, there was no these black people or professionals, like it should be normalized.
But you see that, in my opinion, that's kind of the thing what we got away from. The 90s. When we talk black TV, black television, there was a certain level of creativity that we had with the people putting these movies out. Eddie Murphy had a lot of out-of-the-box ideas that, up to the point he did them, weren't really something you saw all the time. Even in TV shows, a lot of what you see in Martin is ad-lib. That's the creative genius of Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
A lot of what you see in a lot of these great classic movies we love from comedians, whether it's Chris Tucker, Mike Epps, whoever, a lot of that is on them. It's ad-lib, Friday. A lot of that is their minds coming through, not something that was just scripted out for them. And then a lot of that is just the creativity. That is the creative minds coming out on set when the cameras start to roll. And a lot of that in living color, the Wayans brothers, the creative mind of Keenan Ivory Wayans, the creative mind of Damon Wayans.
No, you gotta give respect to Robert Townsend.
Yeah,
Meteor Man.
There's so much that they did themselves, that they put themselves into out there that became big, that wasn't originally the idea. That is what I feel like is missing, that we don't really have anymore. Who are the creative minds?
We don't have the juggernauts anymore.
Like when we speak about the shows, look at the plethora of comedians. Chris Rock, Jamie Foxx, Eddie Murphy, Chris Tucker. Like, who are the comedians of this stage? We have IG dudes.
We still have CJ.
Half the crew wilding out.
We still have Dave Chappelle. But he's like old
Chappelle's
school.
not this generation.
He's old school, yeah.
And Chappelle stands out now. Why?
Because
What generation is he from? Chappelle's show. His mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I feel is missing. But a lot of it, they were all taking risks. They were all doing something. They were unsure if I remember Ice Cube, when he wrote Friday and he said they were done with Friday, the whole cast was like, they thought it was going to be trash. They didn't think it was going to work. You know what I'm saying? And it worked. Because they all did something that was like, it was a risk. I feel like that is what we don't get anymore. We don't get the risk takers, not to that degree that we had in the 90s. And we see the result of all of those people that took those risks. Look what they become. You become legends. You're not going to become a legend doing shit safe.
Yeah,
of course you got to take risks.
And I feel like because they took those risks back in the day, I don't know if like creatively we got into a place of comfort. Like, all right, let me just still bask in the like the fall off of them piloting those things. It's like what you said. Who's those people now? We don't have those people now. Like, even when I told you, me and you go back and forth about some of these movies, but I'm like, I love Death at a Funeral. And then I was like, I like that movie too. I love that movie. Death at a Funeral, the remake with Chris Rock. And then you always say, but look who's in the movie. Exactly. You said you got Chris Rock, old school, Martin Lawrence, old school, Tracy Morgan, old school.
And technically, because people bring up Kevin Hart, if you want to be real, he's not the generation either.
No, he's not.
He's been out since Def Comedy. He's been out for a minute before he popped. Cat Williams was out for a minute too. Like,
right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Girls Trip. Girls Trip was such a breath of fresh air because of what? Because it was something that reminded you of a time where we got movies like that on
and
the regular.
shows like Girlfriends.
Yeah.
we used to get good quality stuff. It was really good writing too with Girls Trip. It wasn't.
And
just
you know
corny.
what Girls Trip kind of came off as? Girls Trip is like you say, Living Single. If the girls from Living Single took a vacation, like just that type of vibe. Like when you watch Girls Trip. And you see them, like, you buy that they're really girls, like we're supposed to believe in. Living Single, you know, and even stressing the importance, because I as much as people don't want to admit it, when they talk about TV shouldn't influence you, it does.
It do.
TV, what you see, especially if you're a kid, it influences you. And as a kid, I'm just speaking from me, when I grew up and I watched The Cosby Show and Family Matters and Fresh Prince, and I saw family. And I saw the dad was the hardworking man. The mother worked and she cooked. She took care of the kids. The kids were all going to college. They would have their, I don't want to do this, bad moments. But then, you know, their arcs were always, they would grow into the adults themselves.
Don't forget A Different World, all of those shows.
And when I saw that as a kid, I remember thinking to myself, you know, I want that. I want to be the head of the household and I want to raise my family and be the Uncle Phil, be the Heathcliff Huxtable. I want to be that. And you always saw the family back then. So I always looked at family as the norm. You didn't really see the broken household
like we
on
see
TV
now.
shows then like you do now, because they've normalized it now more so than it was then. And like I said, back then, that was just something I looked at as the norm. I just, it wasn't out. It wasn't, and you had all the family men, the family women. You know, Heathcliff Huxtable was a doctor. Claire was a lawyer. Uncle Phil was a judge. Uncle Phil was a lawyer. And Vivian was a teacher.
Yeah.
But even beyond just the jobs, they had successful jobs. They all, you know, Heathcliff had, you know, his nice house, and Uncle Phil had the mansion. But beyond that, you saw the strong black woman as well. You saw the Aunt Vivian. That's why so many people like the original Aunt Vivian. The strong
None
black
of you were
woman.
going to MacArthur
Exactly.
Park.
Claire Huxtable, strong black woman. These all were things that were normal. So as a kid seeing that, you get accustomed to what you think is just a way of doing things.
Just like with me, like as a little girl watching things like Girlfriends, and I'm seeing Joan as a lawyer and Living Single. I'm seeing Queen Khadijah as the owner of Flavor Magazine, but Maxine Shaw,
attorney at law.
Oh, Rod the Maverick.
I mean it.
When I tell you Maxine Shaw was who I wanted to be. I was like, for the longest, I kept telling people I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm like, my grandma would be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? A lawyer, a lawyer, a lawyer. Because I wanted to be Maxine Shaw. Like you said, as a kid, you could say, oh, TV, it does influence everything that you do because it is something that you're watching. Media plays a factor in kids' brains. It's not about how much they watch. It's about what they watch. And when I watched Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, I wanted to be a damn lawyer. When I watched A Different World, I wanted to have my love like Whitley and Dwayne. Like, I wanted to go to Hillman. Even though I didn't know back then Hillman wasn't a real thing. I just wanted to go to Hillman College. I wanted to go to college. I just knew I wanted to go to college because I needed to be them. I needed to be these people. Now you take all of that away, and all we replacing that with is reality shows. And I mean, we got Blackish, but it's like, that's one show. Like, like what?
But you see, and this is also something that I think Hollywood just gets wrong, in my personal opinion. Representation. When you have the conversation of, is representation important for blacks, for gays, for women, for all? Sure, it is. But it's how you do it. You see, the problem with a lot of what I see in Hollywood now, you have representation for the sake of representation. Like this person because they're black. Like this person because they're gay. Like this person because they're a woman. No. I should make me fall in love with I didn't fall in love with the character of Maxine Shaw because she's black.
Yeah, no.
I liked her because she was a funny...
She was Maxine, always eating shit.
So what happens is you fall in love with the characters. The fact that they're black is just the fact that they're black. But you fall in love with the characters, the lifestyles, the situation, the relationships. I love Gina and Martin. I love Uncle Phil and Will Smith's relationship. How when you first meet him, Uncle Phil looks at him as this rough delinquent, and he looks at Uncle Phil as the sellout, and they learn from each other. And by the end of we see both of them grow. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they're black is the fact that they're black, but they are a family that is relatable because we fall in love with the characters. Hollywood has gotten away with making us fall in love with the characters, and they're telling us to love the person who is playing the character.
But see, once again, you're saying what Hollywood gotten right. I think this is what, and I don't want to go into the conspiracy powers that be, but I also think that is the plan. Because you got to remember, like, you don't see the effects of some things for years after. And like I was telling you before, when you look at my generation of people who went to school and college and stuff like that, it was a period where we were one of the highest graduating, like, African Americans, like, parallel from the kids from the 90s, the millennials or whatever, because of what we watched and we saw the representation of what we wanted. And, and then when we finally got to that age, you saw that generation grew into a generation that graduated, probably had families, really had that dynamic. Now it's like, you take that away, you replace it with a bunch of reality show BS, and you got people who be like, I don't know if I want to go to school now. But it's us, because we don't have that anymore. It's gone. Like, all of that's when people be like acting so thrilled about Black Panther or about any black film. I'm like, yo, y'all don't remember? We had all of this. Well, this was normal
first
for
of all,
us
because you keep
point.
going back to this Black Panther hate.
I'm not hating on, but I liked it. I'm just saying the way people was acting.
No. But what I'm saying is, here's I'm going to reinstate. What Black Panther did well, they made people like the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Shuri and T'Challa's relationship felt like real brothers and sisters. We didn't meet Shuri. We're told Shuri is so smart. but you showed us.
Yeah.
You showed us why she's smart. You show and she's still playful. Like, kick it again for these such purposes. Like, just the brother-sister dynamic. Okoye, you tell us she's badass, but you showed us she's badass. Nakia's a spy. You showed us throughout the movie she's smart enough to make certain decisions where it's like, yeah, take that. You know what I mean? And she helps save.
Like more than one flower, though.
But that's what I mean. These characters are very well liked because of their actions, and us falling in love with the characters. Black Panther, we fell in love with the character at Civil War because he was badass. And in his own movie, we just see more of him. And again, we don't just look at him as he's Mr. Do-Gooder, regardless. He wants to be like his father. No, he found out he found out the truth, and he's like, Dad, you were wrong for that. And it's those type of little things that make the character arc is what make us fall in love with the character. Right. It's not like you're just strong because you're strong, or you're unbeatable because you're flawed, but you're trying to do right. You're trying to navigate through that's how we are in life. We're trying to navigate through life and figure out our own path. It's the story, it's the journey. That's what makes us fall in love with the character. And it's not just reserved for black. Same thing for like Iron Man. He was a womanizing dick when you meet him in the first movie. The Iron Man in Iron Man 1 would never do what the Iron Man in Endgame did. But we saw him grow throughout the entire 10 years of the MCU into the character that ultimately sacrificed himself for the world. Yeah. And that is a good story arc. That's good storytelling. Storytelling is what sells you. Storytelling is what makes you get invested in these characters you're telling us to love. It's okay to have diversity, but that shouldn't be your selling point. No. You shouldn't tell me I need to like Blade because he's black. I like Blade because he's badass. The fact that he's black is cool, but I like him because he's a badass. I watched Blade as a kid, and yes, Wesley Snipes was one of the reasons I took martial arts, because I never saw a black person do martial arts and become a Hollywood star to the degree Snipes did when I was a kid. It was all Chinese. It was Jackie Chan. It was Bruce Lee. I didn't think black people don't do kung fu. That was what you was told. That's what I was told. And then I saw that, and it did inspire me. But like I said, when I see these characters, the fact that they're diverse should not be your selling point. Right. Like some of the greatest movies of all time. I remember watching Predator over, and I watched the review of it, and the reviewer goes, and this is diversity done well. I said, I never even thought of that. Carl Weathers black, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura. You have a diverse cast, but you didn't focus on that. I just saw a bunch of badasses trying to hunt down an alien and trying to kill them. That's how it should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they're being represented on screen. But if you keep telling us, like, yes, I'm woman and I'm proud. Yeah, I'm black. So it feels like you're pandering. Right. And then also, like, when it goes back to the original point of this, it's like, when you're saying the storytelling in the scripts, it's like, but like, why is it that as a black movie, we don't get those quality level of scripts? Because I don't feel we have the creative minds in the position to give it to us. Besides like a Jordan Peele. Back then. So imagine if we had 5, 6, 7, 8 Jordan Peels. Then we get more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but because in the 90s, what you're saying, like I said, all of these shows you just named, look at the creative minds behind them. Mm-hmm. We don't have, we were spoiled by that age of comedians that we had. They did a lot for us. I don't know if in my lifetime we'll ever have that at the same time ever again. No. You know what I'm saying? Like all in their primes and all doing stuff, and that elevated the field. Even people don't even remember Chris Rock had a show. Chris Rock had a couple shows. Yeah. A couple shows. He has a show. Everybody hates Chris. Yeah, he had that too. But show. He's another creative mind. So it just takes a creative mind to do certain things. Even some of the lesser ones like Malcolm and Eddie, like they're still enjoyable. They may not be the Fresh Prince Martin level stuff, but they're still enjoyable. And even going back to when I was really, really young, and I would watch certain TV shows, you still had a certain dynamic, like Sanford and Son. That's a show that was technically it's before my time, but I watched it as a kid, and what I took from it was the father-son relationship. They had their own business, but the father-son relationship is what I took from them because I like the fact that you can have a character like Fred Sanford and him having that Martin and Pam type dynamic. That's another one, and I like the fact that and like Jeffersons. Jefferson's another one, like. George Jefferson and guess what Helen. George owned? Laundromat. Yeah, businessman. and he's a character that we had that he would go at it with Helen, or Martin would go at it with Pam. And certain people may look at that and say they're disrespecting the black woman, this buffoonery.
But they was holding their time.
But that's what I'm saying. If you've been in black households and black family, people crack on each other. That is what it is. It's all in fun. But when shit hits the fan, when push came to shove, there's a couple episodes with Martin and Pam. When push came to shove, they had each other's backs. Mm-hmm. Like, they cracked on each other, sure, but they had each other's back when shit came down to it. Even when it came down to their problems, Pam helped Martin. Like, they were down for each other when it counted. They have that funny type of, and that's real. You know what I'm saying? That's just sometimes some people's dynamic. And I feel like even the characters that we had, they're edgy. You wouldn't have a character like Archie Bunker in this day and age.
No.
Or George Jefferson. To have a character like Archie Bunker and then introduce a character like George Jefferson, great TV. Great TV. Both of them meeting, great TV.
People too sensitive for that right now.
Exactly.
They're trying to get the show canceled before it started.
But again, that's why we're not going to have that level of greatness that we once had.
Because everybody's in the cancel.
People are too sensitive. It's just when you're oversensitive about
Eddie
every
Murphy
little thing.
apologized for his jokes in Delirious, or is it the other one?
If we're gonna have people apologize for stuff they did back then, we're gonna be here all day.
For
you know what I'm saying? I think that there's a difference between doing things to mock a certain culture and doing things
to make light of
and just doing things in just comedy. Do I think that Jimmy Kimmel should apologize for imitating Chris? Jimmy Kimmel and Chris Rock are friends. I mean, Jimmy Fallon and Chris Rock. You know what I'm saying? Do I think the Wayans brothers should apologize? No. It's comedy. It's a movie. It's not. It's now. If somebody takes that offensive, that's different than what them doing was doing it to be offensive. There was a time in Hollywood where you would see blackface and it was being done to mock a certain culture. Where you would see Chinese people with the ho, like it was done to mock them. That's different. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think with cancel culture, it is a certain level of okay, I understand that. You know what I mean? Let's apologize for that.
They're still getting the repetitive storylines over and over again because they know those are safe and they do well for major people.
But even with that, we can still do better than what we've been getting based on what we have.
Right.
We can still get more creative. That's why I will give, when we did the Us review, regardless of my personal opinions about Us, I respect the creativity. Something different. Something outside of the box.
Even when you saw about things that took a chance, Set It Off. I'm sure nobody thought that movie was going to be a success. But we got 4 black women. I don't even think at the time were they even at their primes. We had Queen. Queen might have been. Queen, Jada, Vivica Fox, and the other one. At least, whatever.
With the eyes that cries.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, we have 4 black women taking the Robin Banks and stuff like that. Really, doing something. I want more scripts like that.
And you know what we're going to get? Now we're going to get
a remake.
Let's remake that.
Let's remake that. Let's remake that.
This is what I'm talking about. This goes back to the point. The creativity has gone down and the laziness has gone up. It's all about, we can make this movie for cheap and it'll gross more. We can make this little cheap horror film with some jump scares and some effects and it'll gross a shit ton of money. Paranormal Activity killed it with that level of filmmaking. And I feel like with a lot of black films, that's what we get. We get these cheap, easy to just get a star and plop them in there. And I feel like that is what has been really hurt. Nobody wants to take that risk. But there are people in positions to do that.
They don't give the roles to a black person or whatever. They might just keep it within the other demographics.
And in its own way, Black Panther essentially was a risk.
It was.
And it paid off.
$1 billion.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I feel like, are you going to hit it out the park with every movie? Of course
But he also had the Marvel backing.
You did have the Marvel backing, but so does Ant-Man. Nobody cared. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, you can have whatever backing you want. You need to be good. You know what I'm saying? Justice League had the backing of having the 2 most iconic superheroes ever in it. And it flopped compared to what it should have done. Right. You know what I'm saying? It still has to be good. It still has to get people entrenched. And then you see the after effects by how, Captain Marvel made $1 billion. You think Captain Marvel 2 is going to make $1 billion?
Hell no.
I don't. Do you think Black Panther 2 could hit $1 billion? I do, because so many people will go back to see it because they were pleased with what they saw the first time. Regardless of the issues, there's still
Well, you should get
interest.
fixed as CGI.
There's still interest in it. That's the thing across Marvel, period.
Yeah.
But that's my only point with Hollywood. I feel like
we need better.
Let's get creative.
Let's use these
try
black actors
different
that
things.
we have. Especially if we can get them for cheap. Then make the script better, basically. Like, because if you're gonna get a B-list actor, then at least give them an A-list script so that we could like at least catapult people back to success and really take a chance.
There you go.
That's it. But it's like, as you can see, me and Louis could talk about this all day because movies and acting and things like that is definitely our passion. But let us know what you think as far as black actors is concerned. Once again, I love my people. I just want the best for my people. I want us to get back to what we had. You know, it was a passion of me, like watching all of those shows back in the day. But let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, share. And until next time, peace.